son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abd Manaf, the son of Qusay, the son of Kilab, the son of Murrah, the son of Ka'ab, the son of Lu'ay, the son of Ghalib, the son of Fihr, the son of Malik, the son of Nadr, the son of Kinana, the son of Mudrika, the son of Ilyas, the son of Mudar, the son of Nizar, the son of Ma'ad, the son of Adnan. Radiyallahu anhu ajma'in. That lineage is a blessed lineage. That lineage is a blessed lineage. The generally held opinion of the ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, based upon hadith mentioned by Imam al-Bayhaqi and others, is that the lineage of the Prophet was never touched by shirk. Was never touched by shirk. There was no unbelievers in the lineage of the Prophet. It was a pure lineage. There's a debate about the father of Ibrahim a.s. The Quran refers to Azar as being the father of Ibrahim a.s. Some of the Mufassirin, they will say that was the uncle of Ibrahim a.s., not the father of Ibrahim a.s. Or they say no, it was, and he was an exception. He was an exception. And the Zahir of the Quran backs that up. So somebody's now to say that, somebody's now to come and say, no, but the father of Ibrahim a.s. was a mushrik. Like he says that, that's not a criticism against the lineage, because the Zahir of the Quran states that. And we asked some of the Shuyukh, and they said, if somebody says that, that's not problematic, because that's what the Quran says. The opinion that most of them go with is an interpretation of Zahir of the Quran. Like we say, the father can refer to an uncle, according to Arabic, that's an interpretation. But the generally held opinion is that that's a pure lineage. No shirk, no haram ever came into that lineage. Prophet said it's protected from shirk, and it's protected from zina. It's protected from shirk, and it's protected from zina. Up to the point of Adnan, there's an agreement on that lineage. And the Muhibbeen is what some of our teachers said. They would memorize this lineage. They would memorize this lineage. And we asked one of our teachers, is it wajib to know the lineage of the Prophet? So for those who love the Prophet, yes. But it's not a requirement of your iman. For those who love the Prophet, it's wajib to memorize the lineage of the Prophet. Up to Adnan, because Adnan, as the Prophet said, that lineage is agreed upon. After that, the Prophet said, Kadhab al-Nasabu. Those who trace back lineages, he said they lie. And from Adnan up to Ismail, there's nothing clear on what that lineage is. Up to that point, it's affirmed. Up to the point of Adnan, it's confirmed. So people should try and memorize that lineage. In many of the Muslim lands, as a child, you'd memorize this lineage. One of the first things that children will be taught is the nasab of the Prophet and the lineage of the Prophet. Our Prophet ﷺ was endowed with many exclusive qualities. We already mentioned these are known as khasa'is, and it's a science of the Prophet ﷺ in its own right. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ, there are multiple sciences around the Prophet ﷺ. You have Sirah, the most obvious, which is his biography. You have Shama'il, the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. Khasa'is is another area of the Prophet ﷺ that studied unique qualities. You have multiple sciences that are studied about the Prophet ﷺ himself. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was endowed with many exclusive qualities. So now here, just to counterbalance the previous statement, we say yes, they were human beings, but they're not normal human beings. They're not normal human beings. He's a seal of all prophets and messengers. Revelation has ceased with his death. And to claim anything other than that is kufr. To claim anything other than that is kufr. And there's no ikhtilaf on this one. Anyone to come and say that a prophet came after, kufr bittifaq. That person is out of the fold of Islam. But that's the unique quality of the Prophet, that he came to close off all the prophets. Revelation has ceased with his passing. He was sent to the entire creation, whereas previous prophets went to their own specific nations and people. He was sent to the entire creation, which includes human beings, includes jinn, and includes malaika tashrifan lahum. Includes angels. Angels are part of the ummah of the Prophet by way of honour, not by way of taklif, not that they had a legal responsibility, because they didn't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By way of honour to them, that we can say we are from his ummah. Jibreel a.s. could say that he was from the ummah of Muhammad s.a.w. Mikael a.s. could say that he's from the ummah of the Prophet s.a.w. They were considered part of this ummah tashrifan lahum. He was sent to humans and jinn in order to guide them and convey the sacred law that was revealed to him. Third unique quality of the Prophet ﷺ. His sacred law abrogates the laws of all previous prophets, and his sacred law shall remain until the last day. His sacred law abrogates, abolishes all previous laws that went. Nothing will come and abolish his law. Nothing will come. His law abolishes, nothing abolishes his law. His law is the final law. His law cancels out the errors that have crept into previous laws, but his law is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No errors will creep into his law. So whatever people try when they want to start twisting Sharia, want to start negating aspects of Sharia, as in these times, certain modern Muslims, certain groups and so on, start trying to nullify certain aspects of Sharia. So try whatever you want. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed that we be protected. His Sharia, the law of his Prophet will be protected until the last days. The unbelievers can do whatever they want, but they will never be able to extinguish the light of the message of the Prophet. That light will remain until the last day. Like even there are some people who negate jihad as a military struggle. Now, some people say no, there is no such thing as jihad in Islam. Jihad is a spiritual struggle. So, see, the ultimate jihad is a military jihad. You cannot negate a military physical struggle. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, said jihad will remain in this ummah until the coming of the Antichrist. Meaning until the very end. So somebody wants to come and say no, jihad is a spiritual struggle and so say yes, there's a spiritual element to it. There is a spiritual element to it. But in the Quran when it's talking about jahidul kuffar, not spiritual fight against the unbelievers. I was talking about military struggle against the unbelievers. So whatever and however much pressure Muslims are put under, however much they're cornered, say jihad, you cannot abolish it. You cannot abolish it. You might find it difficult to stand and say in public that Muslims at certain points have to fight. You might find it difficult doing that. You can't abolish the Sharia of Muhammad, and it will never be abolished. No aspect of it will be lost. His sacred law abrogates the laws of all previous. And remember this is the principle in Usul al-Fiqh in the Quran. Say the nasikh huwa Allah. The nasikh huwa Allah. The abrogator is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No human being can abrogate. And I'm gonna mention one that's a bit more touchy now. I think we're about to close this course off anyway, so we don't need to worry yet. We're nearly done now, so you can get it closed down. Muslims Stop recording. Carry on recording. No, get it out there. Get it out there. Salman told us to speak about it. Muslims have got a problem with slavery. Yeah, say no, Islam doesn't allow for slavery, only with a human being and so. They don't abolish the fucking law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have no right whatsoever to override the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say no, but it's not fair. If it wasn't fair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have abrogated in the lifetime of the Prophet. You cannot abrogate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can say, but they were moving away from. They didn't cancel it though. And as a rule in Usul al-Fiqh, in Sharia, الناسخ هو الله تعالى. The only one who could abrogate is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger. Once the Prophet passed and left this world, no abrogation could take place. When Sayyidina Umar comes and announces that Mut'ah is cancelled, abolished, based upon an understanding he had from the Prophet, he's not the Nasikh, Umar is not the Nasikh. When, as agreed by the four Orthodox schools of law, how many takbirs are there in the Janazah prayer? 4, by agreement to the four Orthodox schools. There's hadith that speak about 5 takbirs. Sahaba by agreement said 4. By agreement Sahaba said 4. Said, is the ijma' of Sahaba now the nasikh? Is the consensus of Sahaba now abrogating the 5 that the Prophet was doing? Say no. What is this? As Sheikh Abdul Sarajuddin rahimahullah, he mentions that this is idharun nasakh. They're bringing out the abrogation that the Prophet himself did. And the final act was 4 that the Prophet did. We know that through the practice of the Sahaba. We know that because the Sahaba did that. So somebody wants to come and say in the hadith it says 5. The Sahaba knew the hadith better than you and I. If they're happy with 4, then I'm happy with 4. But the Prophet did 5. They were the students of the Prophet. They knew what he did. We'll take it from the students direct. So abolishing the nasikh, it's impossible. Only Allah subhanahu can abolish it. The Sharia of Muhammad, no aspect of it can be abolished. No aspect of it. Forget the whole, even parts of it can't be abolished. We can say that at certain times, but it's not or it's difficult to apply it. Like certain cases in niqab, for example, it's going to cause problems for women in certain places. It's like, okay, like say Umar suspended the application of had, he suspended the application of cutting off the hand in times of poverty. There's room for that. There's room for that. But to say outright it's cancelled, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger can do that. Nobody can come and abrogate the law of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, we'll stop at that point. I think we might have to stop at that point. Alhamdulillah.